Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
What's up, NBA fans? Welcome to another edition of The Outlet. With me, as always, Parth.
What's going on, Nick? How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Ready for these rankings. Today, at number 7, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. But before we talk about them, here's a clip from last season.
Jeff Green on the attack. Oh, Jeff Green!
Talk about poster, man. I think this was one of the best dunks of last season.
That's a big-time dunk by Jeff Green right there. I'd like to see that from him a lot more.
Yeah, I feel like he's definitely – I know we'll talk about X factors later, but for this team, I think he's that one guy who could take it to another level from what he is right now.
Yeah, he definitely has some nice talent, and he has some nice size. So I'd like to see Jeff Green put it all together. Let's talk about this ranking. You think this is a fair ranking for the Grizzlies?
Well, now we're into like the elite of the elite. All these teams, I feel like, have legit championship aspirations and goals. I think it's championship or bust for the all the teams moving forward. And I think you have Memphis fairly ranked. I think sixth in the West would be my preseason ranking as well. And I think that's what they are in your rankings, even though they're number 7 overall.
Yeah, definitely. I think this, all like you said, all these teams have championship hopes. So Grizzlies are up there. They didn't do a ton this offseason. They did make some nice moves, but not enough for me to put them higher than anybody else. Let's talk about key returners. They got Mike Conley. They re-signed Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, Tony Allen, Jeff Green, Courtney Lee. Who do you think needs to have a big season?
Well, I think Courtney Lee at the 2-guard spot. I think he's a perfect player for this team. I just wish he shot the 3 a little bit better. I think he's a good 3-point shooter, but if he was elite, if he was, let's say, a Kyle Korver type, I think he would allow this team to be that much more dynamic offensively. They're not bad offensively, but they're also not a team that's going to run you out of the gym. They're more of like their motto is grit and grind. They kind of grind out games and kind of make it ugly. But if he was, let's say, an elite 3-point shooter, I think they would have that versatility on their roster.
Yeah, Courtney Lee's an interesting player. I don't know if you remember his rookie season. He came in, had a great year. He was on the Orlando Magic, and they went to the finals that season. Then he got traded to the New Jersey Nets, and they were a terrible team, and that really hurt his confidence. And I think he bounced back with the Grizzlies a little bit, but he never got to where he was that rookie season where you saw a ton of potential. So, like you said, I think if Courtney Lee could take his game to the next level and become an elite 3-point shooter, that definitely would help Memphis, give them another offensive weapon. I also like, they re-signed Marc Gasol. That was huge this offseason. They need him in the middle. He's arguably the best center in the NBA. He does a lot for them defensively, offensively, passing the ball. I really like Marc Gasol.
Yeah, I do think he's the best center in the NBA. He gives you that elite defense as well as elite offense, and he can play make too. He's not just a low post scorer. He can definitely score in the low post. He can score around the elbow area too, but his passing ability, he's probably one of the best in the league.
Yeah, definitely. His passes from the high post are great. It really sets up that offense, and you really have to be on your game when you play the Grizzlies when he has the ball.
I remember DeMarcus Cousins on a Grantland podcast, and I'm not sure who. It might have been Bill Simmons, but someone asked him, "Hey, man, do you feel sore the next day after playing any of these like teams? Like, how do you feel throughout the season?" He was like, "Dude, I don't feel sore most nights, but after playing the Grizzlies, the day after, I'm definitely sore." They have the Smash Brothers. But Randolph and Gasol are huge bodies and are bruisers down in the post. Like you don't want to take a charge from those two guys.
They're physical. They play offense and defense. And one thing they both do nicely is rebound. And that really helps the Grizzlies as well. But let's talk about some offseason moves. The Grizz didn't do a whole lot. They added Matt Barnes. They got a nice signing with Brandon Wright. Drafted Jarrell Martin and Andrew Harrison. What moves do you like?
Dude, that Brandon Wright signing was a steal. I think he got 3 years, $18 million, something like that. And other players like Aaron Baines, who went from San Antonio to Detroit, got similar numbers. And Brandon Wright was incredible last season when he was with Dallas. And so I think he'll have a similar role here as probably the first big off the bench to spell either Randolph or Gasol. And I think he's going to be really successful for this team.
Yeah, I like the Wright signing as well. He always shoots a high percentage. I think like almost every year he's been in the NBA, he shot over 50%. as well. He's a good shot blocker, and he kind of gives this front court a different element. They have Gasol and Randolph who are bruisers. They're big guys, but Wright's athletic. He can really get up there, so I think that'll help this team too.
Yeah, he's a high energy big, and the reason he shoots above 50%, he's probably well above 50, is because most of his shots are dunks. They're like drop off pass dunks, lobs, whatever. It's a really close to the basket, high percentage shots.
He knows his role. That's what I like about him. So I think that'll be a nice signing. I actually like the Matt Barnes signing as well. They traded for Matt Barnes, picking him up. I think that adds to the team. It gives him another 3-point shooter, and he fits the grit and grind mentality.
Yeah, it remains to be seen if Rihanna's going to follow him all the way to Memphis, though. I know Rihanna likes big time metropolitan areas. So I don't know. Matt Barnes might not be happy without Rihanna there in Memphis.
Yeah, I didn't think she was too interested in him anyway. So
that whole exchange was hilarious.
Yeah, pretty funny. Maybe we'll throw a clip up in the description for you guys.
Yeah, but I also agree with Matt Barnes. I was just joking earlier, but he definitely brings that grit and grind defensively, and he's a capable 3-point shooter. I don't think he's a upgrade over Courtney Lee as far as being a sniper from the perimeter, but he's with the Clippers. He made his threes every now and then, so you have that option when he's in the game. He's not like he can stand out there on the perimeter for you and kind of stretch the floor a little bit.
You have to at least give him a little respect. Like you said, he's not elite, but he is capable. So they lost Kosta Koufos, John Lear, Nick Kalathis. Any moves you don't like from the Grizzlies?
I do like Kosta Koufos, but I think the addition of Brandon Wright kind of offsets that a little bit. I know John Lure was supposed to be their stretch 4, and it just didn't really work out. I think John Lure went to Wisconsin. Can definitely shoot the ball, but didn't have a great shooting season last year. So I don't know if Jarrell Martin, who they drafted, and I think he might already be hurt. I don't know if.
Oh, yeah, I think he did get injured.
He hurt his foot or something, I think. And
he's going to miss a good amount of the season, I'm pretty sure, too.
Yeah, so I don't know if I haven't seen enough of Jarrell Martin to know if he is a stretch 4 or if he can even be a okay player in that role, but I think losing John Lure would hurt a lot more if he was actually good for them last season. So, Jeff Green maybe will play that stretch 4 role when Memphis decides to play small ball.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeff Green could probably fit in that stretch 4 role. Like you said, John Lear, he didn't really play a lot, so I don't think they lose much. Kosta Koufos, yeah, he kind of fit that mentality, but they exchanged him for Brandon Wright, who gives him a different element. So I like that move. I don't really not like any of the moves from the Grizzlies. They just didn't do I'd say a whole lot.
They didn't need to do a whole lot. They're right there. Maybe they definitely don't need to add a star or anything like that. It's just a role player here and there that could take him to the next level. So, I think they had a good offseason.
Yeah, it's solid. I just don't know if it puts him over the top with the rest of the West.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. I don't think any specific move with any of the teams can kind of put them over because you just don't know. Everyone is that good.
Yeah. Well, this is for another podcast, but I really like what the Clippers did. But we'll talk about that in a few episodes. What do you think is the X factor for the Grizzlies this year?
Well, I have 2 X factors for the Grizzlies. Of course, Jeff Green has to take that next step and be an X factor for this team. Too many times throughout the season after he was traded from Boston, he disappears in games. And Memphis cannot have that. He's an integral part of this team. He needs to be able to produce offensively while still playing solid defense on probably the team's best wing. And I think he'll take that next step this season. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there.
Yeah, Jeff Green's an interesting guy. Like you said, when he first came here, he kind of didn't fit in. I think he even asked to come off the bench so he could kind of find his rhythm a little bit more. So he needs to gel with his team. And like you said, not slip out of the game. You need him to be active the whole time, into it. And because he can provide this team a different element, and it'll be the biggest internal upgrade probably.
Right. And then my second X factor will be health for this team. So 2 years ago, I think it was that incredible 7-game series between Memphis and OKC. But during that year, Marc Gasol was hurt, and this team was terrible without him. They ended up getting him back for the second half of the season, and they made a push. I think got in as like the 7th or 8th seed in the playoffs. But I think injuries with this team have really hurt this team in the playoffs. 2 years ago, of course, they, like I just mentioned, the Gasol injury. They were healthy, but they just ran up against Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Can't do much about that. But last season they were doing well, and then Mike Conley has a fractured bone in his face on like a freak incident. And then Tony Allen also has that hamstring strain. So this team was not 100% healthy when they were going up. Who did they play? The Warriors, when they were going up against Golden State. So if they can stay healthy throughout the season and into the playoffs, this is a team that no one wants to play.
Yeah, definitely. No one wants to play this team, and if they stay healthy, because I remember, like you said, when they were missing Marc Gasol, that really hurt the team. They were not winning games. And when he came back, he really helped push them to the playoffs. But when they're healthy, you don't want to face them in the playoffs because, like we said, they grind out games. They're improving offensively, so they'll definitely can cause some problems.
And look at this perimeter defense that they've assembled in terms of individual players. They have Matt Barnes, who can play defense on the perimeter. Jeff Green, who can be really dynamic, get his hands in passing lanes. I think he can take the next step on defense and really be not first team all defense like another player that they have, but he can be a really good defender. Courtney Lee is solid on defense, and of course you know about Tony Allen, who's going to guard the best perimeter player when he's in the game. But I don't know if he starts. I mean, he didn't start last season, and I don't think he should start. I think he's that. I know we always like to talk about offensive game changers off the bench, people who can put up points and buckets, but this guy is an absolute lockdown defender off the bench and can really change the outcome of a lot of games.
Yeah, definitely. He comes off the bench, brings a ton of energy, and he plays defense. He's always getting his hands in passing lanes, setting up the easy fast breaks for himself or for somebody else. So definitely like Allen. And I agree with the point that they can really be a good defensive team. We got Conley, Jeff Green, Courtney Lee, like we said, Tony Allen. Then you got Marc Gasol, who's the defensive player of the year. So definitely a great defense in Memphis.
Yeah, they're great right now, but I think they can be even better with the additions that they made.
Very true. Best case scenario for the Grizzlies.
I think this team has legitimate title hopes, and I think that winning the title would be the best case scenario. The West is tough. Last year, I think spots 2 through 6 were decided by like 1 or 2 games. So you could see this team go from spot 1 or seed 1 to seed 6 in a matter of a couple of days. So now the West is really tough to predict, like where the teams will finish. But regardless of that, I think they can win a championship. They don't have to have home court or anything like that. I think with their defense definitely travels. So championship title hopes would be my best case scenario.
Yeah, their toughness definitely travels defense. They grind out games. They don't care if they're playing at home, but when they're at home, they're definitely a great team as well. I'd say best case scenario would be a top 3 seed in the West. And I probably have a hard time seeing them get out of the Western Conference Finals just because I see teams like Golden State and San Antonio still giving them a problem. Worst case scenario for the Grizzlies.
Worst case scenario would be injuries like I mentioned. So you think that Memphis's floor would be playoffs for sure, but they almost didn't make it 2 seasons ago when Marc Gasol was hurt. So if they lose one of their big pieces like that for a majority of the season, I think it'll be a tough climb, especially in the Western Conference. And we saw what happens when you lose top guys last season with OKC. There's no guarantees in the West. Yeah,
definitely. The West is tough. So like you said, worst case scenario would probably be they have to fight for that 8th spot and they deal with an injury to one of their big time guys like Gasol or Conley, and it just really slows down this team. And the West has gotten so much better that it's just going to be so tough to get in the playoffs. But I feel like they should definitely make it this year. All right, let's get into the truth. In today's emoji, we got a hard hat worker. This guy's working hard. He's grinding just like the Grizzlies do every game.
And as we were looking for emojis to pick, we were kind of confused at, is this definitely a construction worker hard hat emoji, or is this something else? Because we don't know what the green thing is. So if you guys know, do enlighten us.
Yeah, definitely let us know. We're trying to figure that out. Next question.
For this podcast purpose, we're gonna go with this definitely is a hard hat emoji.
All right, are you gonna watch the Grizzlies on League Pass?
So they have 10 nationally televised games, which is surprisingly low. for such a good team, but I guess their play style isn't as popular as the Golden State Warriors or the Chicago Bulls or whatever, and they don't have that perimeter star power. Yeah, the NBA sucks sometimes. Memphis Grizzlies should be on national TV more. So if you do want to watch them, it'll be on League Pass most of the time, and I do want to watch them. So yeah, I'll tune in.
I'll probably catch most of their games against their division because they play such a tough division. All those games are usually close, and I want to see the rematch with Golden State this year as well.
I'm looking at SBnation right now. Shout out to SBnation. But speaking of Warriors, their game to circle is November 11th versus the Warriors.
Yeah.
And so this will be Golden State's first visit to Memphis since Game 6 last year.
That should be a good one to catch. I'll definitely mark that on my calendar.
And it's a good time to play them too, because they also play them 9 days earlier, and that'll be in Oracle.
Yeah, so you're getting a nice little dosage of those two, because that was a nice series last year. Memphis, I think, really probably could have won that series if they just finished stronger, but they just couldn't get over the hump.
Dude, I'm telling you, injuries. Tony Allen had that hamstring. Mike Conley played well, but I mean, he had a broken face, dude.
Yeah. And those masks, honestly, have to be pretty annoying to play with, I would say.
Yeah, I bet.
All right, another question for you. Would you rather watch the Memphis Grizzlies or Walking Dead?
You know, I've never seen The Walking Dead. I don't plan on ever watching The Walking Dead. I'm not into zombies and stuff, so I don't quite get the craze over that. So Memphis, you get a dub here.
Yeah, they get the W with me too. I never got on that Walking Dead hype train. I know a lot of people love that show. Never got into it. But thank you guys for listening. And for our next team, they really don't mind facial hair at all.